What if I told you the real battle isn't the argument itself, it's the moment right before you decide how to respond? Have you ever felt your entire body react before your mind could even speak? That tiny moment, imagine being unshakable, so composed that even the people trying to provoke you start questioning their own tactics. They say something cutting, and suddenly your chest tightens. Heat flashes across your face. Every instinct in you screams to fire back, to defend yourself, to make them feel even a fraction of what they just made you feel. And before you even realize it, you react. Words spill out, words you can't take back. An hour later, you're replaying the whole scene in your mind, wishing you had stayed calm, wishing you had been stronger. Most people believe staying calm means burying the anger, forcing it down until it burns them from the inside. But the Stoics understood something far deeper. The person who provokes you isn't just being cruel, they're testing for control. And your reaction, that's the answer to their test. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's not about letting anyone walk over you. It's about responding from strength instead of reacting from pain. Seneca said it perfectly. The greatest remedy for anger is delay, not suppression. Not pretending you're not hurt. Delay, creating space between the trigger and your response. Today, we're going to explore 8 powerful Stoic techniques to stay calm when someone is deliberately trying to provoke you. From the simple pause technique to strategic disengagement, and especially technique number 5, which is surprisingly counterintuitive. It's the same method Marcus Aurelius used when senators publicly insulted him, and it instantly disarms any aggressor without raising your voice. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to keep your composure in any confrontation and walk away feeling stronger, not drained. So if you've ever regretted your reaction when someone pushed your buttons, this is for you. Let's begin. Technique number 1. The 3-breath pause. You know, that split second between hearing something hurtful and opening your mouth. That tiny moment decides everything. Most people rush through it. They react instantly and then spend hours wishing they hadn't. Between someone's words and your response, there is a gap, a small but powerful space where your control lives, and all it takes to access it is 3 breaths. When someone tries to trigger you, your body reacts before your mind can catch up. Your heart rate spikes, adrenaline surges, your entire system screams at you to fight or run. But the 3-breath pause interrupts that storm. 3 slow, deep breaths before you say anything. It sounds too simple, but its power is devastating. My uncle taught me this after I watched him handle a situation that would have shattered most people. In a meeting, a furious client started screaming at him, attacking his competence, his intelligence, even his character. Every insult was designed to make him lose control in front of everyone. The room went silent. Everyone waited for the explosion, for the argument, for the fight. But instead, he breathed once, twice, 3 times. Then he spoke, and his voice was perfectly steady. I understand you're frustrated. Let's identify the real problem and solve it. And that moment, those 3 simple breaths opened the door to something deeper. The power to choose your response instead of being dragged around by emotion. The client deflated almost instantly. All that rage he tried to unleash suddenly had nowhere to land. It just hung in the air for a second, then collapsed into nothing. After the meeting, I pulled my uncle aside and asked him how he managed to stay so calm when every instinct must have been screaming at him to fire back. To defend himself, he told me something I've never forgotten. I counted 3 breaths. By the third one, I wasn't reacting to his anger anymore. I was responding to the situation. There's a difference, an enormous one, and that difference changes everything. 3 breaths don't erase the emotion. The anger, the hurt, the shock. It's all still there. But those breaths create distance, a small but powerful gap between you and the feeling. By the time you reach the 3rd breath, the chemical storm in your body has already begun to calm. You're no longer hijacked by that initial spike of rage or that sting of humiliation. You shift from reactive mode to responsive mode, from being controlled to being in control. And the person trying to provoke you loses their power instantly because they rely on your reaction to feel like they've won. Viktor Frankl said it better than anyone: between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Those 3 breaths are the doorway into that space. But here's the truth: the pause only creates the space. What you choose to do inside that space is what changes everything. And that brings us to technique number 2. Reframe the insult as information. Have you ever noticed how an insult can live in your mind for days? You replay it. You script perfect comebacks. You feel the heat rise in your chest every time the memory returns. It drains you because you take it personally, as if their words are a mirror reflecting some hidden truth about you. But here's what flips the entire dynamic. When someone insults you, they're not describing you. They're revealing themselves, what they fear, what they envy, or what they lack. Once you truly understand this, insults lose their bite completely. The Stoics practiced cognitive reframing. When someone attacks you, you don't swallow it as truth. You examine it as data. You ask, what does this reveal about them? What insecurity is fueling this? What need are they trying to satisfy by pushing me down? Suddenly, you're not the target absorbing blows. You're the observer watching a pattern unfold. A friend of mine went through this with a coworker who constantly undermined her in meetings. That's a naive approach. You clearly don't understand how this works. Maybe let someone with more experience handle this. Same script. Every meeting. For months, it crushed her. She'd go home replaying every comment, thinking of better responses, feeling smaller every time. Then something clicked. She stopped asking, why is he saying this about me? And started asking, why does he need to say this at all? The answer became obvious almost immediately. He felt threatened. She was getting opportunities he wanted. She was advancing while he stayed stagnant. Her success made his lack of progress painfully visible to everyone in the room. Once she saw that, everything changed. His comments stopped hurting because they stopped being about her. They were about him, his fear, his insecurity, his desperate need to shrink her so he could feel bigger. Now, when he threw an insult, she'd think, he's feeling insecure again. No emotion, no wound, just observation, like watching someone throw a tantrum from a safe distance. Her performance didn't change. His behavior didn't change either. But his words lost their power because she reframed them from attacks on her worth to symptoms of his fear. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, when people injure you, ask yourself what good or harm they thought would come from it. To link back to the previous section, you just learned how reframing an attack can strip it of its power. Now we go one layer deeper. He wasn't excusing the behavior, he was analyzing it. Because once you understand someone's motive, the impact of their attack begins to dissolve. When you mentally reframe provocation as information about the attacker, you quietly remove its emotional charge. Suddenly, you're no longer defending your worth. You're simply observing human nature unfold, realizing they're shouting at a reflection, not at you. And if you've ever stayed calm when someone expected you to explode, drop, AI chose, peace below. Your moment of strength might be exactly what someone else needs today. But there's more. How you see yourself determines what can actually wound you in the first place. And that brings us to Technique 3. Technique 3, anchor to your values, not your ego. You know what actually hurts when someone insults you. It's not the words. It's the doubt they awaken, that quiet whisper in your mind. What if they're right? What if I'm not good enough? What if everyone thinks that? That's your ego reacting. And ego is fragile because it depends entirely on other people's opinions. Values, however, are unshakable. They come from who you truly are, not from how others perceive you. If you know who you are, no one can tell you who you're not. Provocation only works when you're uncertain about your own worth. I know a public speaker who gets criticized constantly. Comments about his voice, his looks, his delivery, personal jabs from strangers who've never even shaken his hand. One day, I asked him how he reads all of that without losing his mind. He showed me something he keeps on his phone. 3 words: service, growth, honesty, his core values. Before every speech, he reads them. He reminds himself why he's there. He told me, when someone attacks my voice or appearance, I ask myself one thing: is this attacking my values? Am I failing to serve? Am I being dishonest? Am I refusing to grow? He paused. The answer is always no. So the comment isn't about me. It's just noise about things that don't define me. His worth isn't tied to whether strangers like his haircut or his speaking style. It's tied to whether he's living his values. And no online insult can touch that, because values are built through action, reinforced through consistency. This is the shift most people never make. They defend their image instead of anchoring to their character. Image is what people see. Character is what you are. One can be attacked, the other cannot. When you anchor yourself to your values, provocation slides off you like water, not because you're suppressing emotion, but because the attack never touched anything meaningful in the first place. Someone can insult your clothes, your face, your voice, but they cannot insult your integrity unless you hand them that power. Epictetus taught exactly this. Know what you can control and what you cannot. You control your character, not your reputation. When your worth comes from character, not image. Provocation has no target left to hit, but anchoring to values protects your core. In the actual moment of provocation, you still need something more immediate, a psychological move that shifts the power instantly. That's Technique 4. Coming out of the last section, you learned how anchoring to your values protects your worth. Now we shift to a technique that changes the entire dynamic of a confrontation. You keep explaining, justifying, proving your point, and the more you defend yourself, the harder they push. It becomes an exhausting loop. And even when you technically win, you still walk away feeling drained and unsettled. Here's the part most people never see. Your defense is exactly what they're after. Resistance gives them something to push against, something to feed off of. But when you remove the resistance, everything collapses. The fastest way to shut down a fight is simple. Agree with them, not with sarcasm, not with passive-aggressive energy, but with genuine, calm acknowledgement. It instantly removes every weapon they thought they had. My brother once dealt with a co-worker like this, someone who made it their mission to provoke him during meetings. "You're always so slow with these reports. Can't you work faster?" The old version of my brother would have snapped back immediately. "I'm not slow, I'm thorough." Maybe if you actually read the reports instead of skimming them, and from there, the argument would spiral. Both of them annoyed, both convinced they were right, both walking away tired and irritated. But the new version of him, he simply replied, calmly and without edge, "You're right. I do take my time with reports. I'd rather be accurate than fast. No defensiveness, no heat. Just agreement." The coworker blinked, confused, and tried again. "Maybe. I guess time will tell." Still calm, still agreeing, still giving absolutely no emotional handle to grab onto. By the third attempt, the coworker gave up. Every insult was landing on a soft cushion of agreement instead of resistance, like punching a pillow. No satisfaction, no fuel, no conflict. Within a few weeks, the provocations stopped completely. Not because my brother proved himself or won some grand debate, but because he removed himself as a target. He refused to play the game. Strategic agreement isn't about admitting guilt or backing down. It's about refusing to feed the conflict someone is trying to create. Provocation can only survive when there is pushback. When you agree with the small part that might be true, or simply acknowledge the possibility, the entire conflict dissolves. Epictetus taught this long ago. If someone speaks badly of you, ask yourself whether it's true. If it is, correct it. If not, ignore it. Strategic agreement is the balanced path in between. You acknowledge truth without surrendering power. You dismiss falsehood without draining your energy. The attacker is left holding their anger with nowhere to put it, and eventually, they stop because there's no reward in continuing. If these techniques are helping you see conflict differently, make sure to subscribe so we can keep building your inner strengths together. But what happens when the provocations don't stop? When someone keeps pushing, no matter what you do? That's where Technique 5 comes in. Technique 5. Imagine them as a scared child. You know what makes anger feel justified. Seeing the person attacking you as powerful, as someone fully aware of what they're doing, as someone who deserves your rage. But what if that's not true? What if the person screaming at you is actually terrified inside? Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, faced public insults constantly. Senators challenged his authority, mocked his decisions, even attacked his character in front of enormous crowds. He could have destroyed any of them with a single command. Instead, he used one mental shift, one technique that made anger impossible. He imagined them as children, not to belittle them and not to be condescending, but to see the fear, insecurity, or pain behind their behavior. And when you see someone as a frightened child lashing out, something changes instantly. Compassion replaces anger. And you cannot stay furious at someone you genuinely feel compassion for. Picking up from the previous section, you've seen how imagining someone as a scared child can dissolve your anger instantly. Now let's look at a real-life example that shows just how powerful this approach can be. I watched a teacher use this technique with a parent who was screaming at her in the school hallway. It happened in front of students and other parents. The parent hurled accusations about her competence, her care for the students, even her intelligence, all personal attacks designed to humiliate. But the teacher just stood there, calm, fully present, neither defending herself nor attacking back. She simply listened. Later, someone asked her how she managed to stay so composed, how she didn't lose her temper or at least feel hurt by those harsh words. Her answer completely changed the way I view conflict. She said, "I didn't see an adult attacking me. I saw a 7-year-old who's terrified because her child is struggling in school and doesn't know what else to do. That's what I was looking at. A scared parent who's overwhelmed, and the only tool she has right now is anger." That simple shift in perspective changed everything for her. Instead of feeling attacked, she felt something closer to compassion. She responded to the fear underneath, not the aggression on the surface. She said gently, "I understand you're worried about your son. I'm worried about him too. Let's figure out how to help him together." The parent broke down, crying, and apologized. All that rage had just been masking fear. Fear that finally found a safe place to land. This technique doesn't excuse bad behavior. It only reshapes your emotional response to it. When you see provocation as a symptom of someone's pain, anger becomes almost impossible. Not because you suppress it, but because you genuinely feel something different. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, but I have seen these behaviors before. They come from ignorance, not evil." He saw provocateurs as struggling, not malicious. And that distinction changes everything. Compassion neutralizes anger from within. But sometimes, you need an external response that stops the provocation in its tracks. That's where Technique 6 comes in. Technique 6. Ask clarifying questions. Have you ever had someone insult you in a way so vague that calling it out would make you seem overly sensitive? Something like, "Well, that's a typical response from someone in your position," or "That's just how you operate." You hear the condescension. Everyone in the room hears it. But it's vague enough that if you confront it directly, you might look like you're overreacting. That's the trap. If you defend yourself, you appear defensive. If you ignore it, they keep doing it. It feels like you're stuck either way, but you're not. Here's what changes everything. Don't defend. Don't ignore. Just ask them to clarify what they mean. You'll be surprised how quickly they backpedal. Most provocations rely on vagueness, sarcasm, or implication. They're designed to wound without being overt enough to confront directly. Clarifying questions force them to be explicit and take responsibility for what they're really saying. Most people won't, and the provocation dies instantly. I remember a colleague in a meeting when someone dismissively said, "Well, that's a typical response from someone in your role." The room went quiet. Everyone heard this slight, but it was just vague enough that addressing it directly would make her look like she was overreacting, instead of reacting emotionally. She asked calmly, "What exactly do you mean by that?" The person hesitated. "Well, people in your role tend to think a certain way." "Tend to think in what way, specifically?" Still calm, genuinely curious, with no edge. "Well, I just meant it's a particular perspective based on..." "Could you elaborate on what perspective you mean?" By the third question, the person gave up completely. You've seen how asking clarifying questions can dismantle vague provocations. But what about attacks that aren't spoken? The silent judgment, the dismissive body language, the hostile energy, those require a different approach. That's where Technique 7 comes in. First, let's recap how clarifying questions work. My colleague hadn't defended herself once. She didn't accuse them, didn't fight back. She simply asked them to clarify their words. The result? Every provocation crumbled instantly. Insults work best in the shadows, in implications, in what's left unsaid. Shine a light on them, and they lose all their power. The strength of this technique is that it sends all the discomfort back to the attacker. They came to provoke you. Now they must explain themselves. Most won't, because speaking the quiet part out loud exposes them, not you. Socrates mastered this approach. He responded to insults with questions, not to be clever or evasive, but to force clarity. Vague attacks die under scrutiny. The key is your tone. If you sound defensive or sarcastic, it backfires. If you sound genuinely curious, like you truly want to understand, they crumble every time. But clarifying questions only work for verbal attacks. So what about non-verbal provocations? Crossed arms, tense shoulders, clenched jaw, avoiding eye contact. Your body can give you away even before you speak. You think you're hiding your reaction, but your body screams, "They got to me," and they see it. That feedback is exactly what the provocateur is looking for. Physical proof. Their attack worked. Here's what most people don't realize. Your body doesn't just reflect your emotions, it creates them. When you drop your shoulders, slow your breathing, relax your jaw, your brain receives signals that there's no threat. The stress response begins to calm. You're not faking calm, you're creating it. I once watched a negotiator handle an aggressive client who used every intimidation tactic imaginable. Raised voice, leaning across the table, pointing fingers, invading personal space, trying to dominate purely through physical presence. But the negotiator did something I'll never forget. He leaned back, not aggressively, just calmly creating space. His shoulders visibly relaxed, his hands rested open and still on the table. His eye contact remained steady without staring, and he spoke slightly slower than usual. He looked completely unbothered, like he was discussing the weather, not being screamed at. The more aggressive the client became, the calmer the negotiator appeared. Within 10 minutes, the shift was clear. The client was exhausting himself. All that aggression was hitting a wall of absolute calm. There was nowhere for it to land, no reaction to feed on. Eventually, the client ran out of steam and sat back. The fight drained right out of him. Afterward, I asked the negotiator if he was truly that calm inside, or if it was all technique. He smiled. My heart was racing. But I've trained myself. Shoulders down, slow breathing, hands still and visible. External calm creates internal calm. And more importantly, it tells the other person this approach isn't working. That is the double power of controlled body language. It regulates your own nervous system, while denying the provocateur the satisfaction they seek. They need visible distress to feel successful. When your body refuses to provide that signal, they eventually give up. Seneca understood this completely, building on the power of controlled body language. You've seen how projecting calm can neutralize aggression. But there's one final technique, a step that can completely change the dynamic. Knowing when to walk away entirely. This is Technique 8. Technique 8. Know when to disengage. Have you ever stayed in an argument long after it was clear nothing productive would come of it? You know the other person isn't listening, but your ego won't let you step away. You need the last word. You need them to understand. You need to be right. An hour later, you're exhausted. Nothing has changed. No problem has been solved. You've just wasted energy on someone who never intended to resolve anything. This is the hardest technique because it asks you to accept a painful truth. Not every provocation deserves a response. Some people aren't trying to communicate, they're trying to drain you. And the most powerful response to that is complete disengagement. My mentor told me about a business partner who grew increasingly hostile over several months. Every conversation turned into an attack. Every email contained provocation. Every interaction seemed designed to start a fight. For weeks, my mentor tried everything: pausing, reframing, clarifying, strategic agreement. Nothing worked because the partner wasn't interested in resolution. He thrived on conflict. Finally, my mentor said 7 words and never engaged again. "I don't think this is productive anymore." No explanation, no defense, no anger, just a factual statement and a complete withdrawal from the dynamic. The partner tried everything to pull him back in. Provocative emails, phone calls, messages designed to trigger a response. My mentor ignored it all. Every attempt to re-engage was met with silence. About 2 weeks later, the partner gave up and moved on to find someone else to fight with. Later, my mentor told me, some people don't want solutions, they want an audience for their anger. When you stop being the audience, you stop being the target. That is the distinction most people miss. Disengagement isn't surrender, it's strategic withdrawal from a battle that serves no purpose. Some provocations are designed purely to waste your time and energy. The person doesn't want resolution. They want attention, reaction, and control over your emotional state. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You always own the option of having no opinion." There is never any need to get worked up about things. Not every provocation deserves your opinion, your energy, or your time. When you recognize someone is just looking for an audience for their dysfunction, the most powerful move is to leave the theater entirely. Silence is a complete sentence. So there you have it, 8 Stoic techniques for staying calm under provocation. The 3-breath pause, reframing insults as information anchoring to your values. Not your ego, strategic agreement, seeing them as scared children, clarifying questions, controlling your body language, strategic disengagement. But techniques alone aren't enough. They only work when paired with the right mindset. The person trying to upset you only has the power you give them. They pull the trigger, but you decide if there's a bullet. Staying calm doesn't mean being passive. It means being powerful. The person who controls themselves controls the situation. Stay grounded, stay wise.